Hello students, welcome to this English video tutorial. In this video tutorial, I will be explaining on the 7th chapter from English Literature Reader, The Ransom of the Red Chief by O. Henry. William Sidney Potter is the real name of O. Henry, and O. Henry was his pet name. Born on September 11, 1862. He is an American writer known as the master of short story form and of the surprise ending. He had very little formal education. He was homeschooled by his aunt. At the age of 19, he was licensed as a pharmacist. He was blessed with natural artistic talents by sketching the town folk at the drugstore. In 1887, he was offered a job as a draughtsman at the Texas. In 1891, he began working at the First National Bank of Austin as a teller and bookkeeper. In 1894, he was accused of embezzlement and lost his job. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison on being found guilty. He was released after serving 3 years for good behavior. Here, I would also like to add a point that in his 3 years of serving in the prison, he served in the drugstore because he was a licensed pharmacist, and also he continued his writing. So after his release, he became a prolific writer. He died on June 5, 1910 of cirrhosis of the liver, diabetes complications, and an enlarged heart. The Ransom of the Red Chief is a story about two kidnappers who wanted to buy an illegal plot of land in Illinois by carrying out a kidnapping because they need the money, and a terrible outcome which we will get to know as we proceed and progress the story. Before progressing, I would like you to get familiar with the character. We have Sam, one of the kidnappers, more patient and calm criminal, and the mastermind of this kidnapping. Bill, his partner, who is impatient, easily gets frightened, and is naive. Red Chief, the boy who has been kidnapped, his name is Johnny. He is 10 years old boy, energetic, playful, curious, and intelligent. And his father, Ebenezer Dorset, who is rich, clever, and respectful. The story is set, and the story is in the form of a first-person narrative skill, where one of the kidnapper is narrating the incident. Let's begin the story. The exposition. Why did they plan to kidnap a child, these two kidnappers? It was in Alabama where Bill Discroll and Sam got the idea to kidnap this child because they wanted to buy an illegal land in Illinois. They had about $600 and they just needed $2,000 more. So they chose this child who stays in a town called Summit. And Summit is a very flat place which is compared as flat as a pancake. Whom did they choose to kidnap, and why? They chose to kidnap the only child of an influential citizen named Ebenezer Dorset. So the boy was the son of Dorset, and he was 10 years old with red hair. They found it convenient they chose this person because he is from a rich family, and it would be easy to extract money at a very short time from these parents. So that was the reason why they chose this parent. Now, what was the preparation? The preparation was, there was a little mountain, 2 miles away from the town. There was a cave, and at the back of the there was a cave on the back of the mountain, and they stored all the necessary supplies, and they hired a carriage and move on to carry out their plan, that is to kidnap the child. The child, from the introduction itself, we could see that he is trying to harm a cat opposite the fence, and the two kidnappers tried to lure him by asking him if he wants a bag of candy and a nice ride in the carriage, which would be very much tempting to a 10-year-old boy. But the boy, instead of agreeing, he threw a piece of stone which nearly catches Bill's eye, and they did not take it seriously. The kidnappers thought that they would be charging $500 more for this harm. So they failed to lure him politely. The only option was to get hold of him by any means and put him in the carriage, which they did, and it was like a fight with a wild animal. They took the boy to the cave. And there is where the problem is being introduced to us. It was not very easy, but somehow they managed to do that, and we will see the beginning of their struggle. We find that once Sam goes down to give back the carriage, when he comes back, he finds that the child had struck 2 feathers on his head, and he calls himself Red Chief. He calls Bill as Old Hank, the trapper, who is Red Chief's captive, and Bill is going to be scalped, that is to cut off the scalp by the daybreak. At the daybreak. And Sam was also given a name, that is Snake Eye, the spy. And the Red Chief says that he is going to cook him directly under the radiance of the heat of the sun. So that was the punishment that he pronounced. Now they goes for their dinner, and he makes a very strange dinner speech which does not make any sense, which reads something like, "I like this wine. I never camped out before, but I had a pet possum once, and I was 9 last birthday. Does 3 moves make the wind blow? We had 5 puppies. I don't like girls. Do you have beds? Amos Murray has got 6 toes. A parrot can talk, but monkey and a fish can't. How many does it take to make 12? So this is some senseless speech that the 10-year-old boy makes in the dinner, during their dinner. But to him, it was important because he was looking for a good listener, and these 2 kidnappers seems to be a very good listener to him, and so he was pouring out whatever was within him for a very longer period of time, and it doesn't make sense to the adult, but to him it was very important. We can also say that, or we can understand that the boy is devoid of attention at home. Every few minutes the boy would be going at the entrance of the cave, pretending to be the Red Chief, threatening Bill. So that boy started terrorizing Bill from the very beginning. And when he was asked if he would like to go home, this is the response that he gave. "Oh, for what? I don't have any fun at home. I had to go to school. I like to camp out. You won't take me back home again, will you?" See, this is the response that a boy who is being kidnapped gives to the kidnappers. So kidnappers feel relieved that the boy is not going to run away from the cave. Now, after all of this, the kidnapper says that okay, we will not take you away, and they goes to bed. But at about 11 o'clock, just at daybreak, they went to bed at about 11 o'clock. So when they goes to bed at around daybreak, they were awakened by a series of, not they but Sam was awakened by a series of terrible screams, which was not yelling, howling, shouting, whooping, or yelps from a manly set of vocal organs, but it was like, indecent, terrifying, humiliating scream which usually women emit when they see ghosts or caterpillars. It was an awful sound to hear. So when he woke up, he saw that he was sitting on the chest of Bill, and he was about to cut off Bill's scalp, as he said he's going to do at the daybreak. So Bill took the knife. Sam took the knife away from the boy, and from that moment, Bill's spirit was broken. We can see that from that moment, he slept with his one eye open. He could never sleep peacefully. Sam also couldn't sleep. He was nervous or afraid or whatever, because the boy said that he was also going to be broiled. That is, he was going to be cooked by the heat of the sun. So he also thought maybe the boy would take it seriously, and once he sleeps, he doesn't know what the boy will do. So he thought of being awake and was leaning against a rock. Bill was a little bit doubtful whether the parents would like to take this boy away from them or not, but Sam says that such child, rowdy child, the parents like and love such mischievous child, so they would love to take them back. Early in the morning, Sam asked Bill and the Red Chief to cook their breakfast, and he would go up to the mountain to see what is happening in the town, because his expectation was when he goes up to the mountain and see the town folk will be panicking about the missing boy. But when he goes up there, he finds that everything was very peaceful. So he comforts himself by saying that maybe they did not realize because it is so early in the morning. He comes back. When he comes back, he finds that Bill was backed up against the side of the cave, and he was breathing hard, with the boy threatening to strike him with a rock. And what do you think that the boy has done to him? Is he crushed a red hot potato down Bill's back. So Bill also boxed his ear. Bill asked Sam if they got a gun. He was so frustrated that he wanted to have a gun. Here Sam intervened in between and told the boy to stop this fight. But the boy said, I will fix you to Bill, because he said no one has ever dared to touch or harm the Red Chief. So after the breakfast, the boy takes a piece of leather with strings wrapped around it out of his pocket and goes outside the cave unwinding it. So what is he up to? They were anxious. Do you think he will run away? That was the question that Bill had. But Sam says that not maybe, but he was sure that it would not happen. The next moment we could see that the boy was reeling his catapult, or kind of a very local made catapult, with a sling and cloth. He put a very big stone in the sling, and he shoved it across Bill's head. There was a heavy thud sound and a deep sigh from Bill. And it was the rock was the size of an egg that hit him. Here, if you see a picture, you will see it here, that the size of the rock was like that of an egg which hit the left ear of Bill. This Bill flew across the fire, across the frying pan near the fire, and Sam has to come and pull him out, and he poured water on him for about half an hour. Now this was beyond beyond the limitations. So he says, if you don't behave, I will take you home. That was a very threatening and thunderous statement that Bill has made to the boy, that I will take you home. And the boy says, I was only having fun. I will behave, but please don't take me home. So that was the time when Sam decides to write the ransom letter to his father. And so he writes the letter giving details about where to keep his ransom. He lowers the ransom money from $2,000 to $1,500 for his return. And he says that the money is to be left at midnight at the same place in the box as your answer. And he also gives the direction where to keep, and he says it will be after crossing Old Creek on the road of Poplar Cove. There are 3 large trees close to the fence of the wheat field on the right hand side. At the bottom of the fence post, opposite the third tree, will be found a small pasteboard box. The messenger will place the answer in this box and return immediately to Summit. If you fail to agree to our demand, you will never see the boy again. If you pay the money as demanded, he will be returned to you safe and well within 3 hours. And they sign off as 2 desperate men. So he took the letter down to the post office, to the mail carrier, and there he was a little bit happy because the news that the boy is missing was heard from the post office. So he thought it was a good opportunity. So he waited there at the place where the father is supposed to keep the money. So at the exact time, as he mentioned, that is 8 o'clock, a person comes, okay, and a half-grown boy rides up the road on a bicycle, finds the box at the foot of the fence post, and he keeps the paper into it and leaves, riding towards the summit. So here Sam waits for another 1 hour so that it is not a trick to trap the kidnapper from the father's side. He wants to be in the safer side, so he does that, and he climbs down and he takes the letter, which was a letter from the father of the boy, and he goes to Bill and he reads the letter. The counter proposal, the letter replying to the kidnappers by the child father, read something like this. I will read it for you. Gentlemen, I receive your letter regarding the ransom you asked for the return of my son. I think you are a little high in your demands. I hereby make you a counter proposal which I believe you will accept. You bring Johnny home and pay me $250 in cash, and I agree to take him off your hands. You had better come at night, because the neighbors believe he is lost, and I could not be responsible for what they would do to anybody they saw bringing him back. Very respectfully, Ebenezer Dorset. So here you see the counter proposal was not as they anticipated. They expected the father to leave money, the ransom money, in the box, but instead the father asks them to pay him $250 so that he will take Johnny from them, and also advise them to come at night, because if they come at daytime, the neighbors would be furious to see the mischievous boy back in the neighbor. So he says he is not responsible for this. So that it was a very good advice that the father has given to this gentleman. Now we see that Ebenezer Dorset turned out to be a really unexpected person than what the kidnappers had thought about him. But Bill, Sam wanted to say something, was swearing on the father, but when he looked at Bill, Bill had the most appealing look in his eyes, which he never saw on the face of a dumb or a talking brute. So the appealing look is asking Sam to agree to his father's proposal and give away the son, that Johnny, so that they can live a peaceful life. And Bill says, what is $250 after all? We have money. So give this money, or else one more night with this son or with this boy will drive him crazy. And Bill felt that the boy's father was making a very good offer, and they will not let this chance go. So Sam also says, like, okay, you are telling, what you are telling me or asking me makes quite sensible. So they took the advice of the father, and now the problem is how to tell the child that we are taking you home, because the child doesn't want to go back home. So they lured the boy by telling him that, let us go to your house. Your father has bought a gun. We will bring that gun and we will go for hunting tomorrow. So that is how the kidnappers tried to tempt the boy, and three of them agreed to go to Ebenezer's place. They goes there. It was just 12 o'clock. When they knocked at the door, Mr. Ebenezer did not open the door for his son, but he opened just to take his hand out asking for money. He took out his hand from the door asking for the money, and when the money was counted and handed over to Dorset's hand, he opened the door. Then he took the child, and Bill asked, how long can you hold this boy? Ebenezer Dorset says, I am not very strong now, but I can promise you 10 minutes. 10 minutes he will be holding this boy. And Bill says that is enough. In 10 minutes they would be running so fast that they would cross the Canadian border also. So within that 10 minutes they ran so fast that Bill, who is considered as a fat person physically, he was running so fast as if he was trying to save his life from a very dangerous situation. So in this way, these two kidnappers handed over the proposed amount of money to the child's father and ran as fast as possible, especially Bill. And this is how their whole plan to buy the plot of land came to an end, because every situation that they anticipated turned out to be something else that they did not expected. So it was an irony for them. The whole plan turned out to be something which they never expected. Here we see the theme of crime. We see the theme of violence. We see the theme of empathy. It also shows that everything has unforeseen circumstances. The mood of the story is fairly humorous instead of the scared feelings that one would normally get from a story about kidnapping. Here, I would like to briefly analyze the story as a whole. From the very beginning, the story evokes delusion and irony as the setting is a flat town whose name is Summit. The kidnappers assume that the townspeople are backward and incapable of thwarting the kidnapping scheme, proving just as delusional as the town's name. Sam wants to appear serious. Sam, who is the mastermind of behind the kidnapping, appears to be serious and intelligent, but he just come across as ridiculous. When Bill is hit by a brick by the boy, he was not violent but think about extracting extra money from his father. They overlook a threat. The plan to kidnap the only child of a rich and important local citizen seems rational. However, the plan immediately goes awry when the boy was found ill-mannered, upper-class child. Instead of being afraid, upset, or even sullen, the child seemed to be having a wonderful time. Bill anticipated the townspeople to be panicking in search of the boy, but they were calm and normal. Johnny's speech is funny and touching. It shows how he is simple young boy who is naive but curious about the world and is starved for somebody to listen to him. His begging to the kidnappers not to send him back home hints that his home life is so troubled that he would rather be kidnapped and live in rustic cave than at home with a rich but cruel father. As Johnny's primary playmate, Bill has taken the brunt of his abuse, while Sam has been the executive of their ransom enterprise. Bill shows Sam that he is not immune to Johnny's terror. In this way, the two continue to bicker rather than focusing on the job at hand, which makes it difficult to address the unexpected question of who in their right mind would pay for the return of such a terrible child. Sam asserting that parents dote on rowdy kids prove his lack of personal knowledge on parenting, and that he has not yet grasped the idea or the depth of their problem. Out of frustration, Bill asks Sam if he has a gun. Here, no weapon was mentioned in the story, and the fact that weapons have been absent from the story is important, for it signals that the kidnappers are not a threat and it gives evidence for how poorly prepared for mayhem these criminals are. The idea that Johnny is Bill and Sam's captive continues to erode as they realize that they are the ones who need an exit plan, not Johnny. It is hinting Sam about the reason about the ransom letter, the key to their plan. Just when Johnny knocks Bill over the fire with a slingshot, the implication is clear that the tables have turned and their plans continue to be eclipsed by Johnny's agenda. Although Bill and Sam's letter to Ebenezer convey a reduced ransom demand, it still illuminates their lack of situational awareness. The detailed direction of the town just deluded him in thinking he is in control when dealing with Old Dorset. The threat, "You will never see the boy again," rings hollow. This man clearly would never hurt Johnny. The assertion that these terms are final is simply untrue, as well, and signing off as two desperate men is ironic. It is not their aggression but their weakness that is making them desperate. The counter-proposal made by Ebenezer Dorset establishes him as a dominant actor, credibly threatening him in order to get what he wants. His signature is sort of business-like formality that is a recognizable feature of otherwise cutthroat business communications. Sam's reaction to Ebenezer's letter is shock. Of course, since to this point he has deluded himself that the kidnapping has a chance of succeeding. Sam and Bill's inability to make a good threat to hurt Johnny is key to their coming acquiescence to Ebenezer's powerful response. In the final action, Johnny clings to Bill rather than to his father, and the father restrains his son, while Bill and Sam make their getaway. It is a denouement that is both strangely sad and funny, illustrating that Johnny's home is no home, and that the strangers who came to town without a clue are leaving it considerably more knowledgeable about who runs things. This is the end of this story. Hope you will be learning by going through this video again and again. Happy learning. Thank you.